What go me G?
Yo, John, no man, hungry.
Why we no go check McDonald's?
Me no want a hamburger.
Then make we go check Rodney. When them hungry, watch everybody.
Welcome, 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 my viewers and subscribers. Thank you very much for 14,000 subscribers. Again, thank you very much. Guys, before me go into the video, I want to set this to you all. You don't know them this try sabotage my food truck. However, you don't know summer is coming and June 21st is when summer started. But guys, you still can help me simple by purchasing sauce from Rodney's. Yeah, man, you can purchase the sauce from me. Look right up here, and this is an ad I'm putting out so you can purchase sauce from me. I will ship it to you. If you're in Jamaica, I won't be able to ship it to you in Jamaica. But while you're in the United States of America, I believe Canada and England, I'll be able to ship it to you. So, guys, if you want to help me and if you can help me purchase a sauce from me, even if you don't purchase nothing, just pray. A prayer a day keep the devil away. Guys, I am people ask me to make a GoFundMe and to make a but I'm not that kind of person. I'm a hardworking person. Love to work hard to get what I needed. The truck is I don't think I'll be able to come out this year with the truck because of what happened to the truck and how they cut all the wires, and the wires have to rerun and they have to take out all different sort of place just to put wires. So I'm working on it, trying my best to get that truck back in order. Some of the event that I have, I'll have to borrow. Guys, that's the rough part of it. I have to borrow people truck, which I don't like. I do not like it, but I have to borrow because those events they don't want nobody else. They want me there. So I will be borrowing trucks to use to go to those events. And then, my truck will be ready. They didn't give me a full exact date, but you don't know by July, it's August, then everything gone. Because in the US, when August comes, it's like everything finished. School is back in and all those things. So again, guys, purchase a sauce or prayer for me. And you don't know. But guys, with all that said, welcome to Rodney's Lifestyle Real Talk TV. How no do? How no stay? All right. I hope each and every one of you is in good health and good strength. And guys, mental health crisis is no joke. It's not something to play with. Domestic violence is serious. Please, I'm asking, I'm begging you. Guys, I am not moving away from what I set out to do. I set out to do the You're Not Alone, where people can call me and talk to me. Are we going to help people to find places? I'm going to start it back up. I go start, I think, between tomorrow and Sunday, but by next week, I'm going to start it back up where we can help some people out there. Guys, if tomorrow is your birthday, happy birthday to you when it comes. If today is your birthday, happy birthday and have a wonderful weekend. TGIF, thank God it's Friday. If you drink, don't drive, and if you drive, don't drink. Remember, other people is out there living their life and want to live to see their family, and they want to live to see tomorrow. So guys, I make a video the other day about immigration, and what I have noticed looking around, looking and seeing what's going on, I've noticed there is a lot of things in the immigration ground that we who is not an immigration lawyer or an immigration officer, we don't know. So guys, I'm about to show you uh, a video with a lady asking a lawyer, an immigration lawyer, some questions. These questions are questions that we all need to know you all need to know and you all need to listen. So, in other words, before you leave the United States, yeah, before you leave, remember, listen to what this guy and this lady is saying, because this lady asked some good questions, and this lady know what question to ask. This lawyer know how to answer them. So there is a lot of ways out there that you can save yourself, and there's a lot of way out there that you can mess up yourself. So before you leave the United States of America, because they send you a letter and tell you that you have to go home and finish your work out there. But as this lawyer is saying, there's a lot of ways to get around that, and there's a lot of people who cannot get around it. But it is good for you to get a lawyer before you leave the country. So make we go and listen to what they are saying. When you're ready, may I move over here, so I'm going to put them right over here so you can get to listen and hear what they're saying. When you're ready, all right, let's go.
Major new USCIS policy memo is sending shockwaves through the immigration community. For decades, many immigrants already living in the United States were able to apply for a green card without leaving the country through a process known as adjustment of status. But now USCIS says that path should only be granted to extraordinary circumstances, a dramatic shift that could impact students, workers, families, and even people already waiting on pending green card applications. What does extraordinary circumstances actually mean? Could people now be forced to leave the U.S. for consular processing abroad? And what happens to undocumented immigrants? To help break it all down, we're joined by immigration attorney Max Fuchs. He has practiced law since 2007 and focuses on business immigration, including EB-1, O-1, and national interest waiver cases for individuals with extraordinary ability. Max, hi, thank you for joining us. This new memo that was released last week, in simple terms, what changed?
In order to understand what changed, I think it's important to understand the process of getting a green card and how a person gets a green card in the first place. So if a person is eligible for a green card, whether it's through family reunification, whether it's through work, there are two basic ways of doing this. The most standard one is called consular processing, where a person goes to a U.S. consulate abroad with all of the documents, the approval, they have an interview, they go through the interview process, and the officer at the consulate gives them a visa if it's approved, and once they enter the country with that visa, they're permanent residents. The other way is what's called adjustment of status. This is reserved for people who are already in the country, and under some circumstances, this is something that the U.S. government, by statute, allows, where instead of leaving the country and going through the consular processing, you're allowed to file for a green card while you're already here by filing for Form I-485. So in order to be eligible for this, you already have to be in status. And what's changed is really the second part of this process, is this adjustment of status I-485, because in the past, this has been a pretty standard process. If you're eligible and you're in valid status, you can apply with no problems. Statutorily, this is still there. They cannot get rid of this. This is in the law. This is in the statute. However, whenever you try to get waivers, there are many things that are considered extraordinary circumstances, extraordinary hardship. So, for example, a health issue would likely qualify. If you have a U.S. citizen, the direct family member, like a child or a parent who may need you as their sole provider, this may qualify as well. In certain circumstances, for example, we know that in order for advanced parole, for example, if an employer writes a letter and saying this would cause hardship hardship to me economically, sometimes economic hardship to a U.S. employer can qualify too. So these are simply just an example of the kinds of things that we usually see. We don't know how this is going to be applied in practice yet, but in general, if we know how things in immigration work, these are generally the kinds of things that the government will be looking for.
The administration has suggested that certain visa categories may be less affected by this new policy. Which types of visas are they referring to, and why would those groups potentially be treated differently under the new rules?
Who is going to be
there's some non-immigrant visas. So the visas that people get to the United States are really subdivided into two main types of visas. There's the non-immigrant visas, which are your temporary visas, like your student visas, your H-1B visa, it's your regular tourist visa. It's basically saying you can come in for a temporary period of stay, and then you have to leave. And there are immigrant visas, which are your EB-1, EB-2, your extraordinary ability visas, etc. So there are one of the main issues with a non-immigrant visa is in order to get a non-immigrant visa, you cannot have immigrant intent, meaning that if the government suspects that you're coming into the country in order to stay, and not leave after your period expires that the visa is given to you for, that visa can be denied. And there are, however, some visas that are non-immigrant visas that are exempt from that, and they're called dual intent visas, meaning the government recognizes that, yes, we're giving you a non-immigrant visa, but we also know that at some point you may want to switch that to an immigrant visa. So H-1B is one of those types of visas. L-1 is another type. O-1 is kind of an interesting legal concept. It's considered a dual intent, but there are certain ways in which it's not. This nuance is not really important for this conversation. I think for the purposes here, I think it would be considered a dual intent visa. And what's important is because the government recognizes that if you are here on this visa, and it is important that you have to be in status, meaning your visa cannot have expired, you cannot have overstayed your visa.
Guys, this is so as you hear what they're saying is there's many ways around what is happening, but you have to, that I-95 is very important because you have to have it to show that you come in the United States. That's why sometimes they go ask you many different questions that you have to answer because they're trying to put the clue together. If they cannot put that clue together about how you come in the United States, it will allow them to give you 10-year ban from the United States. Just think about it. 10-year ban. So if your family is here in the United States, you can be 10 years outside of this country from them. So listen good. Follow the rules, listen to what they're saying, find a lawyer. That lawyer can tell you what not to do and what to do. Sometimes, in other words, how should I put it? Sometimes we would say we go do it on our own, but this is not a joke, because worse when you have your family in the United States and you leave to your country, whether it's Jamaica, Africa, the Caribbean, anywhere in the Caribbean, anywhere in the world, knowing that your family is left in the United States. Worse if you was the breadwinner of that family. Because if you are the breadwinner of your family and you leave and gone, how they're going to manage, So think before you make a move. And if you have to make a move, put things in place that you can help them or they can help themselves. May we continue. Listen.
You've come in, they've let you in with the expectation that at some point you would be applying for adjustment of status. So those types of visas would likely be exempt, because I think the main goal here for the government is to try to get people who try to subvert the non-immigrant visa system, meaning that people who come in on a tourist visa and then decide that now I want to stay, that's really where I think the majority of enforcement is going to be.
That was going to be my next question. Which groups of immigrants are most likely to be affected by this change?
Yes, I think the types, and again, it's hard to know right now. This is very new. However, we do expect that people who have come in on non-dual intent, non-immigrant visas, meaning your tourist visas, meaning your student visas, and then they start the adjustment of status process either through a spouse or in some other way. I think those really are the kinds of visas that are going to be in heightened enforcement.
Now, many people don't realize that leaving the U.S. after overstaying for more than a year can trigger a 10-year ban. Now, let's talk about a common real-life example. If someone overstayed their visa but later married a U.S. citizen, let's say, could this new policy force them to leave the country to continue the process?
So this is a very important question. And I think this is a category of people who are really going to be the most affected because in general, if you are in an H-1B, if you're in an L-1 and you want to adjust status, you would have to be in status anyway. So those bans would not affect, you could not have overstayed your visa. So those bans aren't really going to affect those people. The one category of people who this ban or this rule will affect a lot are specifically those people who you just referenced, or the people who have come here, they have overstayed, and then they decide to get married to a U.S. citizen. And now, in the past, there's something in the adjustment of status, there's something called a direct family exemption, meaning that if you are a direct relative of a U.S. citizen, meaning a spouse, also a child who's underage child who's not married, that's a direct relative, or a parent. So those people are direct relatives, and they would be exempt from the in status requirement, meaning as long as they entered legally and they got their I-94, they could have overstayed by 10 years, they could have overstayed by 20 years, it did not matter. You were eligible for adjustment of status. And that was one of the easy paths to, I mean, of course, the marriage had to be bona fide, it had to have been a real marriage, but this was one of the easiest paths and one of the ways that millions of people were able to get their green cards. You know, they would come here, maybe they would overstay, but then, you know, love happens. You find somebody, you start building a family, you get married, and, you know, you would stay. And these are the kinds of people I think who are going to be at most risk. And the bans that you referenced are very important because these are statutory, which means they're not under the discretion of an officer. When you go back to a consulate, the officer can't just say, well, you overstayed, but you're a nice person. No, these are statutory bars to reentry. So meaning if you overstayed by 6 months, there's a 3-year bar. If you overstayed by a year, there's a 10-year bar from returning. Now, there are waivers, but they require a separate application. They have to be adjudicated. It's a very complicated process. So those people are going to be at risk because there are going to be so many people who are going to think, well, you know, I'm going to get married. They're telling me to go to a consulate. I'll just leave, go to a consulate and get it that way. Well, if you're here for 20 years now, and as soon as you step out of the country and you reapply for entrance back, there's your 10-year bar and you cannot return for 10 years. And so, yes, those are the kinds of people who are going to be affected. And if you don't know and you don't have a consult with an immigration attorney who could explain this to you, these are people who are going to be at risk because they think they're doing everything right. And they're just going to be in this kind of trap. So one of the, I think, major things that we need to take out of this, and I hope that people take out of this, is both legally and practically, it is much, much harder to get somebody out of the country than to not let somebody in. So if there's any kind of question, if there's any, consult with an immigration attorney. Do not leave the country without consulting an immigration attorney first.
Max Fuchs, immigration attorney, thank you so much for your time. And for those with pending adjustment of status cases, this policy could still affect their applications, but the key is to stay put and avoid rushed decisions. It's also important to consult with an immigration lawyer to understand your specific situation. Some may get requests for evidence or tougher questions at interviews about why they applied inside the U.S. The most important step is to prepare evidence showing why leaving the U.S. would cause serious hardship. Now, what do you think about this new policy? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to.
So guys, as you hear for yourself, there is a lot of ways, terms, means, and understanding going towards this new not new, but this updated situation when it come on to getting your green card status change or getting your green card in the United States. They want you to go outside of the United States to finish your papers. However, there's ways around it, and there's some people who cannot go around it because of the status. You don't have status. In other words, is when they say if you don't have status, meaning you don't have an I-95. If you have an I-95, it's more important because they can use that and say, okay, this is how you come in the country. You just overstay your time, which again is against their policy. But if you cannot if you cannot show a I-95, like if you come through any border, like if you come through the Mexican border, the Canadian border, come on a boat, come on anything, and you don't have a stamp in your book, you're in serious trouble. Let's be honest here. If when you come in the United States of America, and when you come in the United States of America, you come on a boat, ship, yacht, through another country. So when you come, you didn't see a immigration officer and they didn't stamp something in your book. Let me be honest with you. Me nah beat around the bush. Dog near me a supper. Them a change all that rule, and not to change it, them a update the rule, and is saying, pushing the real serious narrative of the I-95, because the I-95 is what they go ask you for while doing your paperwork. And the reason why they want to know your I-95 is they want to know which one of the port did you enter the United States through, if you come on a ship or if you come by plane. Not a boat, not a yacht, a ship, meaning a cruise ship. You work on the cruise ship and you come off and you're just gone. You fly in on a plane and you decided to overstay. That's what they might look for. If you don't have that I-95 in your book, stamped in your book, or upon any piece of paper, who beyond to hold, you're going to get a 10-year ban if and when you leave the country. So getting a lawyer is very important. And guys, remember, me am no immigration lawyer. I am not an immigration lawyer, but the immigration lawyer says so. Listen to him, follow him, and go find yourself a lawyer. Even if you don't have the money, go to a counselor and ask questions. It is more important to ask questions than you try to be an immigration lawyer on your own. Because remember, you're living in this country with 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. You have everything in the United States. And if you're going to know, just look about your paper and you don't have an I-95, remember me tell you, you better just sit down here. Because if you left the country, you're going to be out there for 10 years. But you can leave the country and come back if you get a lawyer, and the lawyer is being honest to you and tell you the truth. So, guys, listen to what I'm saying to you. Follow the rules and regulation. And if you should depart, depart. If you cannot afford to depart, well, that's up to you. Me not gonna tell you if you stay here, because guess what? I know for me country is Donald place. So if you want to stay, you depend your own. If you want to go home, you on your own. You're doing what they tell you to do, and you're doing what you think it is right, or you're doing what your lawyer tell you to do. If you stay in a Donald place and you don't have the right paper and Donald catch you, remember, Donald go shut you in one place and then send you home, and then you go have a 10-year ban. So please, I'm begging you, get these things together, get the thing organized, and don't be too scared. Don't be, not a matter of too scared. Don't be scared. Just go and talk the truth. Tell the truth. Listen, it is very important for you to go and you say, Donald, I come in here illegal, this way and this way. It is more nicer to be nice to them, easier to them, respectful to them. Respect, in other words, be respectful to everybody. I mean, I tell you the truth, it will work in your favor. Sometimes you may believe that they want to get you, but when you reach to the place and start to talk to them, the whole demeanor change because they'll be like, oh, I didn't know you were that cool, but then I'll tell you that. But the calmer you is the best because if you flare up, oh, you go see 10, 15, 20 male coming on you. And when they come, remember, them go drop you, them go lie down upon you, they go sit down, stand up, everything upon you. So it is more important to comply than ask question after. Me sound good? How me sound? In the comment section down below. Tell me how me sound. If me sound good, if me right, or if me wrong. Well, I don't know. Me personally will accept when me wrong, and I love when me right. But sometimes me wrong too. So again, remember what you do. Hey, come support me. Buy some sauce, no man. Or pray for me truck get fixed quick because people they want their food and me have to go borrow people truck figure serve the people in food. With that said, I'm out. Me gone. Stay good, stand good, walk good, and till next time, I'm out. Bye bye, chat bout.